Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, where we look at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hi, and welcome back to Modern Musings. I am your hostess, Cindy Murray, and I'm here with Kristen Blakely, and Amber is joining us again by phone while we have some inclement weather here, and she's not able to travel to meet us to record in person. So excuse us for the poor quality of our podcast, and but we're here, we're all here, and we're excited to talk about our topic today, which is what is a friend. And my goal in talking about this, as I mentioned in our last episode, is that as women, we often have very close friendships with other women. Actually, we have varying relationships with other women, but sometimes our relationships with other women are some of our closest relationships to anyone other than our spouse or significant other. And, you know, I've always sought to have friendships that were so close that I could spill all my secrets to. You know, I like having that closeness, and some women don't quite go that far, but I really like having that really super close relationship. I have a sister. Sometimes it's two women who are sisters have that relationship, but it's a close friendship like that. I was not that particularly close with my sister, so I seek out that bonding with other females with my friends. And I wanted to talk about how that is impacted, you know, by the depths of those relationships. As you all know, we've celebrated Valentine's Day and friendships over the years through this podcast, and not everyone has a significant other or a Valentine, you know, so we always like to include something about friendship, or we often try to include something about friendship at this time of year. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. And I want to talk about what constitutes being a friend versus being an acquaintance, and how deep are your friendships? How close are you to your friends? And how many do you have? Just one friend, or do you have many close friends like that? And how open and honest are they? So I'll let either one of you can start, kind of give us a little background about your friendships with other women.
Well, I guess I could start because Amber's obviously here on the podcast. So, right. So I would say that, you know, I kind of like to think about, you know, your friends as being like in a circle, like a tree, right? And then you've got like the core circle, and then you've got like the rings going out.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Like the trunk.
Yeah, like a tree trunk. Yeah,
Okay.
with the rain and stuff, right?
Yeah,
so
you're the tree, and then your friends are layers.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And that's where they are, you know, in perspective, all people.
Well, true. That is true. That is true. Yeah.
So all people, whether they're my coworkers or a customer or my friend, they fall somewhere within like those boundaries, right? Because you set like boundaries too. When you think about it,
it's a boundary of what you share, right?
Exactly, and like what you accept and what you expect, right? So, you know, for me, a friend is someone who can see me clearly, right? Their idea of me is also very close to what I am naturally, unguarded,
right,
alone.
Your authentic self.
My authentic self. Because I feel like being fully authentic with my friend is very freeing.
Yes.
To have another person that they don't even have to mirror that same behavior, but to just accept it is important to me.
Right.
So,
yeah,
you know, they don't have to see the inside of me to be, and inside of me, I mean like completely everything, but enough of me to get a good picture of who I am and accept me for who I am.
Okay.
So
Yep.
for me, I feel like a good friend is someone who sees me clearly. That also means that they see me objectively and a little bit biasedly, but they form their own opinions about
Right.
me, but they can also see it from a third person
They
perspective.
see you objectively, but they love and accept you anyway.
Right.
Yes.
And so when they see you in that objective way, they also provide a good view of you from a different view, right?
Mhm.
So that's what makes a really good friend valuable, in a sense of just having, that support system when
Right.
you don't see yourself a certain way.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The good and the bad, right?
Okay.
So negative
Yeah.
behaviors, positive behaviors. A friend is also someone who honors your interior life. So when I think of your interior life, that's the inside of you, right?
Right.
Like your core values, and also the other people that are on the inner circle closer than your friends.
Right.
Right? That friend respects that boundary.
Right.
It's like kind of like, hate to say it, but they know their place.
Right.
And
I'm your
so-
friend, not my family
Yes,
comes
I'm
before
not
my
married
friends.
to you. Yes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
I really value that in a friend, because I have a hard time being friends with people that struggle with that.
Right. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not a private person, but I'm a one at a time kind of person in some ways.
Okay.
And so it can be challenging to juggle with someone else who's also a one at a time kind of person.
Okay.
So
Yes.
you kind of have to be able to honor that and respect that with each other. And for me, like, a friend is safe and not passive. So like those friends that are very close in my inner circle, like the closer they get, they need to be less passive towards me, right? Because
Okay.
if they're just like, oh, whatever, then I feel like they're not as invested in me
Right.
or my friendship.
Right.
So for me to be able to fit those kind of criterias, right? You don't even have to like the same things that we like.
Right,
obviously.
right.
Because I have a friend who we are like polar opposites. I like things that glitter and she likes things that don't sparkle. I was a maximalist and she's a minimalist, right?
Mhm.
I am Christian, she's atheist,
Mhm.
right? But we also respect each other's boundaries,
Right.
and she sees me clearly.
Mhm.
So, and I can come to her and be myself.
Right.
So she is one of my innermost circle friends.
Right. Right.
And so, Amber also, she's been one of my friends for the longest too. And so probably I have like two friends that are in like that circle, close circle.
Right.
And then there's some very close circles around that, right? And then they keep going. So, and I don't count, how many friends that I have. I'm definitely not one of
Right.
those people. Maybe when I was a kid, I went like, I have 10 friends,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now I'm just like, oh my gosh, I still have the same 3-4 friends that I've always had.
Right.
Right. And that
Yeah.
to me is like how I count my friends.
Right.
I
So-
look back and go, wow, they're still my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say, and I'm just trying to summarize this so I understand,
Mm-hmm.
is that your closest friends are the ones who accept you for who you are, no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
but they also challenge you to look at another perspective,
Yeah.
or to see things a different way,
Yeah,
or whatever.
Because when I'm being
Because
a
they're
butt,
not-
Emily will tell me I'm being a butt. Or
Right.
if I'm being closed-minded.
Right. And
Yeah.
and they're not just going to lay over and say yes to everything that you say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I don't need a yes
a
man.
yes man. Right. Yeah. And there are some people who that is what they want out of their friendships, is
Mhm.
that
But they
undying
also
loyalty.
keep them at a safe, close distance.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. I think I'm going to let Amber speak up, but I'm going to interject there that I think a good friend is someone who can tell you the truth whether you want to hear it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, whether you're a good friend and takes that advice or listens to that advice without
Mhm.
turning that friend away, that's that's something totally different.
Yeah.
So what about you, Amber?
Well, gosh, how do I follow that? Like, Kristen did a really good job of explaining. I mean, Kristen and I have been like best friends for 20 something years.
Mm-hmm.
And my other most amazing friend, Stacy, we have been best friends since the 3rd grade. And those are like my 2 ride or dies right there. And then, of course, I have my bestie, Joy, and we've been friends for like 15 years. So and I want to say that I have more than 3 friends, but those are the ones that like know me the best,
Right, right.
that are, that I could tell anything to. I could say anything to Kristen and she would not judge me.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Right,
Right.
Kristen? Just
Right.
kidding.
She's like, right.
Right.
Say
Please
it the way
yes.
I want you
Please
to say it.
Please
No.
say yes.
Like,
I know where you live.
right. Well, you know what? At this point, Chris and I have been through everything together.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
So the fact that she's still around and tolerates me is amazing to me sometimes. But
So, do you have
yeah,
anything to add to what she said about what a good friend should do, or how a good friend should be, or whatever?
like I kind of like established like these roles with Stacy when we were younger, and like to me, like a good friend is somebody, like Kristen said, like somebody that's gonna like call you out on
Mm-hmm.
your shit,
Yeah.
like tell you if you have bad breath.
Right. Right.
And like it's such a funny story. Like I have that with Stacy. Like we were sitting next to each other in French class in high school, and she'd had sausage for breakfast or something like that. And something about the smell was bothering me that day.
Ah.
'Cause and her sausage breath was killing me. So I reached into my bag and I pulled out a stick of gum and I handed it to her.
Yeah.
We didn't
Yeah.
say a word to her. And she turned to me and she goes, "This is why you're my best friend."
Oh. Yeah, I think that's part of it too. I really do. I think, and to paraphrase you, calling you out on your crap.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the things, and I I likewise, I have a couple. Well, I don't know. I have a bigger core group of friends, and I think of my friends sort of like Dante's levels of hell.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
God.
Okay.
That's
Let's go
interesting.
through this
Okay.
journey.
So, pardon the coughing there. I won't be able to edit that out. But yeah, I have friends who know so much about me that they're going to hell with me. And then I have, like I have a core group of ladies that and I include you ladies among them, because even though Kristen is my daughter, she is one of my very best friends. And, we've done things together, and, it's been she and me since, or her and me, I guess that would be her and me, since she was born, because after I got divorced, she was with me all the time. So, it's always been the two of us. But I have, this core group of friends that you are both part of, that are, we go to our little retreat together or whatever. And I feel like I can talk about most things, but, like you said, you set kind of some boundaries or whatever with Stacy, that are some things you don't even have to talk about. I have certain people that know certain things about my life. So I do differentiate who I talk about certain things to. So, like Kristen, I would never talk to Kristen about my sex life, obviously, right? It would just be too uncomfortable. And likewise, I don't, I don't expect her to really ever.
Right.
I mean, I maybe some vagaries that are just, but no specifics, right? So, but, and there are also people I don't talk about politics and religion with, because they're upsetting to that person, or we disagree about certain things. But I also have, I have I will call this one person my ride or die. She's probably my only ride or die. And I don't even talk to her hardly at all, except when I need to talk to her, and that's not even that often, but I know she's there. That's the thing. I know she's there if I need her. She would be in her car driving 340 miles to get to me if she needed to. And I would do the same for her. And I hope she knows that too. I don't know if she listens or not, but I feel like she's the person who would call me out if I'm being a butt. And and I would probably call her out if she's being a butt, but and we have very different lives from each other, but she knows she's the one I say would, we're probably going to hell in a handbasket together because, we've just been such part of each other's lives for so long. My other group, this other core group of 5 or 6 ladies that I'm with are almost as close as that. And some of them I am as close as that in specific areas. And that, we've talked about one little word and goal setting and stuff like that. I am very open with that set of ladies about my faults and my fears and my personal expenses and things that some people don't talk to anybody about, So, I discuss shadow work with them in the way that, I have this deep rooted fear about blah, 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 or whatever. So they're really right there with that one ride or die, but not quite there because I can't share everything with them. And I don't know that I really would ever want to, because I think many of us would have some very different opinions about certain things that would be very uncomfortable for all of us. So, and then, and then the rows go out and out and out and out, by level of friendship. But I also agree that I think the very best of friends will tell you, and you know what? Sometimes I think it's calling you out on your shit, but I think it's also they accept you for who you are, but they're also willing to ask you to consider a different perspective. Yeah. And I think that's the difference. I don't want them to tell me, I think you're doing this wrong. I don't want them to tell me you shouldn't do that, because that is not being a friend.
Right.
But if they say, have you thought about this?
Right. When I think a friend, a true friend who sees you clearly and knows you, right,
mm-hmm.
is willing to sacrifice or step in and say, hey, what you're doing or saying doesn't align with your values, because I know you, and this behavior is not your normal behavior. So I just want you to realize, right. I just want to show it to you because you may not notice it. Right. That's what I mean, like a friend that corrects you. Right. Right. Because they know who you really are and what your values are.
Right. Well, and like I said, I think, and also not just you're acting out of context for who you really are, but also, have you considered the other, you're behaving in this way to this person. Have you considered how it's affecting the person you're behaving towards by seeing the other side of that equation, right? Because sometimes we do things I want to say innocently, because it's not like we're intentionally doing something to hurt someone, but we just don't have the perspective to realize how the way we're doing something is affecting someone else. And a good friend, I think, will tell you, hey, what you're doing is hurtful to that person. Or have you asked that other person what they feel about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of goes back to the reason I bring that part of it up is because, we did several, was it last year before last? I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up, and I will link it heard it on the podcast. But we did an episode about our Enneagrams and who we are naturally. And Kristen is
Achiever.
an achiever, and I actually am a leader. A leader? No, I'm a perfectionist. Sorry. I'm a perfectionist with leader wing. I think I had leader wings, but I'm a perfectionist. So, and I will go back and say, being a perfectionist does not mean you do things perfect. It means you're afraid that other people expect it to be perfect, right? So a perfectionist is someone who's trying to do it in a way that other people will think it's perfect. So it's not about being perfect. It's about other people's perception of your perfectionism, right? So that means that perfectionists are also fixers. They try to fix everything that they see that's broken because they don't want people to perceive it as being broken or not operating properly or whatever. So they want to fix everything. And so I have friends who have, and I talked about this in my blog that followed that up. You know, if I am that, then is it reasonable for someone to expect me to behave differently than what I am? If I am acting as a perfectionist would, by trying to fix things, by setting the itinerary and trying to stick to it so that it works smoothly, or by trying to fix all the things that I think are broken, or make things prettier, or make things happier, or helping my friends. Like if I see my friend is unhappy in a relationship she has with someone else, if it's my nature to try to help her fix that, then is it reasonable for a friend to tell me you shouldn't do that? Do you understand what I'm asking? Is it reasonable for someone to ask me to behave in a different way?
Okay.
I'm saying it's all in the way you present it.
It totally is, because if Amber and I went to my grandma's house and I said, okay, before we go in, don't say this cuss word because my grandma will be really upset.
Yes.
And you'll hurt her feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing fully well that my friend, well, Amber, I'm just throwing you under the bus here, has a sweary mouth, right? And we go out to the bars and we drink and we swear like sailors, but then we go to my grandmother's house.
And you're acting.
And I ask her to behave a certain way at my grandmother's house.
Mm-hmm.
One, is it okay for me to ask my friend that? And two, is it okay for me to be upset for my friend for not complying?
Well, I think
I think a good friend sees the value and the importance of that. Like, okay, it's her grandmother. She's trying to honor her grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go there and be respectful. And as soon as we leave, we'll party it up.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So she's considering the context, and she's also considering the way that you presented it.
The value. Yeah.
Well, no, the way that you presented it, because you told her before she got there, this is what my grandmother expects. And I'm asking you to comport yourself in a certain way so that it doesn't offend my grandmother. Okay? That's a totally different thing than what I'm talking about.
I know. But I'm just saying, like,
I'm talking about if I saw you telling Amber, if you saw Amber say something ugly to Jason that hurt his feelings,
mm-hmm.
and you jumped on her angrily and told her, why are you doing that? Why are you talking to him like that? You shouldn't talk to him like that.
Well, that would be me busting out in my ego. That has nothing to do with my friendship.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's not a friend. I think
it is. I'm still her friend, but I'm reacting in my ego.
You're not reacting in the way that a friend would react to her, because the better way to do that would be to say, because you're asking her to do something other than what she authentically is, right? Mm-hmm. So, or here, we'll just use the example of me instead of that. So here's something actual and real. I get pissed off about things around the house, and I might yell at Ashley and say, "Why aren't you doing your chores around here? You need to do your chores. This is what I asked you to do," right? And you come to me and in front of her and say, "You shouldn't talk to her like that. You know she's traumatized. You shouldn't talk to her like that, blah, 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 blah." That is not what a friend would do. A friend to me, not a friend to her, a friend to me would pull me aside maybe, or you're asking me to act differently than I am. Do you see what I'm saying?
This is where friendship and you're blurring the lines of social intelligence. Blur. Some people know not to act like that around other people, and they know to pull someone aside, and some people don't.
Well, and what I'm talking about though is telling me that I should never expect her to do anything because she's traumatized. So I should not expect that of her. And I'm like, I do expect that of her. I expect that of all of my children, so, I'm like, are you trying to tell me that I should never expect my children to behave a certain way? And I don't agree with that.
Well, and my question is, are you saying that person is not your friend because
no,
of the way
I'm
they
saying is
you?
That the way a friend should behave to me?
That's your boundary.
Right.
That's what you decide are your boundaries.
Should a friend call me out on the way I deal with my family or children, or should they wait and talk to me privately in a different way?
Right. I think that.
And are they expecting me to be a different? If I expect that my roommates in my house do their chores on the day that they're done, I'm a perfectionist, remember, right? So I have set days that I want the chores done, and I have a set way that I want them done. Are you saying that I am not supposed to have those expectations? I am a perfectionist after all. And if you accept me as who I am,
think regardless of what the scenario is and what you want and why you expect it that way, the scenario has nothing to do with someone being a friend.
I'm just using that as a thing. I'm saying they're expecting me to be a different kind of person than I am. Do you say?
No,
because
think
they're
it's
saying
just
I shouldn't
the
be
pot calling the kettle black, because they're trying to correct your behavior in a way that you're also in front of you, and you're also trying to correct someone else's behavior in front of someone else. So it's pot kettle black. I don't think that has anything to do with friendship. I think that's just two people not handling.
I'm not saying it has to do with friendship. I'm saying it has to do with that authenticity. Do they really see who I am and understand that is who I am? That perfectionism in me is who I am. Just like you are an achiever. I understand that you are an achiever, and I am not going to ever try to tell you that you can't be an achiever, because that is at the core of who you are in your personality, right? I can't change that. That is what your Enneagram is. Now, you might, on your own, work on yourself and change that where you're not that. But that means you have to do. So I'm really kind of pointing back at the Enneagram. Are you really, if you're being your authentic self, doesn't your friend accept you as that? So if I'm a perfectionist, if they're really my friend, should they really be trying to change that aspect about me? Just like, to me, it's the equivalent of saying my friend is an atheist, but my religion requires that I try to convert everybody. Am I really accepting my friend, the atheist, as she is? Or I don't.
And I believe that those people understand where those circles are and where those people are.
Right. But some people don't. Some people don't understand that. So, there are people who try to convert you to their point of view, even though they call you a friend.
I feel like I'm having deja vu right now. So anyways.
Oh yeah.
You're
okay,
doing
yeah.
what?
She's
You said
having it.
what?
We're
Amber's
talking
like-
about that point of view, that point of view episode. Why do people have to share? Yeah.
No, I'm just
it
saying.
just comes back to that. That one
Yeah.
comes back a lot because it's a common one.
What I'm saying is that your friend will give you sound advice
Yes.
if they feel like you are treating someone unfairly,
right.
right? So
Right.
regardless what your
Well, if it-
scenario is.
Yes. But sometimes it's not presented as advice.
Let me say.
Okay.
So regardless of what your scenario is,
Mm-hmm.
the bottom line is that your friend and you both accept each other.
Right.
So your friend may come at you with an aggressive approach to correct you.
right.
That is your reciprocal friendship
Okay.
acceptance of that person.
I get what you're saying because even though she is not respecting the boundaries of how I want to receive correction,
Exactly.
as a friend, I must accept the way that she
Exactly.
offers
And
correction.
that is something that for your personality type, you're going to have to work that out because
Right.
you are a perfectionist. So you will also have to accept that your friends don't come to you perfect.
Well, I don't.
Right.
Don't.
And
but
that's
I
what I'm
also
saying
don't
is that
like
the scenario doesn't come out perfect
right.
either.
But
So
the
it
scenario
argues
never
itself.
does. If you're calling out someone on something, but my point is I would rather my friends come to me personally and talk the things through with me rather than try to I don't think a friend should impose their ideals on me. I'm okay with them questioning the way I behave, but I don't think they should impose.
Right. Which
Their
goes
way
back
of- yeah.
to what I said. Your friend honors your interior life.
Right.
So they do
So-
not push on those walls
Right.
or try to climb them.
Right.
They are within that wall.
Right.
And if your wall is, accept me for who I am,
Right.
or you're
Or
not
stay at
coming
that
closer.
distance.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So an atheist and a super religious person can be friends.
Oh, absolutely.
And have very close, meaningful conversations.
Absolutely.
But they both have to respect
Each
those boundaries.
other's
They
boundaries.
do, because
it is.
Amber's in one of my circles, but I'm also in one of her circles.
Right.
It goes both ways.
Right. It's
So-
a Venn diagram.
Yes, yes.
Yes, it's a Venn diagram. And I do agree with that. The reason this came up is because I had recently this encounter with a couple of friends, and I was talking to one friend and the other person jumped in and in a very rude way told me basically to mind my own business. I think, they didn't say that, but it was the equivalent of that. And I was like, okay, first off, if you know me at all, this is where I operate, right? And number two, why are you telling me what to do instead of, because I'm not like you. I don't operate the way you operate. So, and I understand that you operate this way, but why are you trying to enforce that on me? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it caused strife, not just between me and the one person, but between the other person that I was having the conversation with as well, because it put ideas in the head of the other person that I wasn't acting in their best interest. And that was absolutely not the case. Does that make sense? So I don't know. This person was in my inner circle, and now I feel like maybe they shouldn't be with certain things, because of the way that they handled that situation. And it's a fluid dynamic. It really is. People move in and out of circles. I had a friend, 30 years ago who was my best friend in the world ever. And we got separated by miles, and and we didn't hang out with each other anymore, and now we're not close friends anymore. She's still my friend. I still get together with her on occasion, and it's kind of like going back to being we just catch up, and we're in some ways as close as ever, but they're not part of my inner circle anymore. And I have several friends like that are good friends of mine, but they're not part of my inner circle because we've grown apart, and we see things differently, and there are certain parts of me that I share with different people, and they're not one of those people. So so I do agree. I think a friend is somebody that you should be able to, if I'm your friend, I'm going to call you out on your crap if I see it. I'm not going to accuse you of doing something wrong, though. I think and maybe that's the difference between me and, like you were talking about, that emotional intelligence of other people. I know I know not to tell someone they're doing it wrong. That doesn't mean I always observe that, but I do know that what I should do is to, have them see a different perspective, and sometimes that's hard, but I will put that out there. Hey, have you thought about how what you said affected this person? And so yeah, I think a good friend would do that. But also a good friend knows who you are. Like you said, you're who you really are. And they can tell when you're acting like yourself, or you're acting differently than you used to act, or what they thought was your authentic person. Yeah.
Right. And I think a good friend is also a little forgiving when you have abnormal behavior, or
Oh yes,
I think that's also, like I said, seeing from the other person's perspective is that, remember, we're all acting in our ego, and they may have been triggered when they experienced something that elevated them,
right,
and their protection mode is to jump in and interfere,
right,
and maybe the way they approached it wasn't the smartest, most managerial approach.
Right. Yeah. I have a perfect example of that happened between you and me, and I was in the wrong.
And so you have to go, oh, okay, I'm identifying that person's acting in their ego. They're obviously, because their ego was triggered, they are working with what they have, the best that they have at the time.
And that's a great analogy, right? Or, a great thing to emphasize right there. And Brene Brown always talks about it is, you have to stop and ask yourself, are they doing the best they can under the circumstances?
Yeah.
And if they are, then you have to give them the grace.
Thank you.
Grace.
That's what I was like, what is that word?
Yeah. So, and here's the example that I have for you, because when you first brought Scott to us, I noticed that you were always filling his plate. And I'm sure you remember this incident because we kind of, and the first time you did it, I was like, okay, whatever. But then the next time you did it, I was like, I had invited him to get up and fill his plate, and you jumped up and filled his plate. And I was like, wait a minute, he can fill his plate. And you refused to let him fill his plate. And that was triggering to me, because I grew up in a household where the women were subservient to the man. And, the women would fill the plate while the man sat on his butt. And that's not the word I want to use. Just know that. And did nothing. And then he would sit and eat, and the man would say, get me a loaf of bread, or get me the butter, or get me the salt and pepper. And you would stop what you were doing. You would stop in the middle of your dinner to get up and get it for him when he was actually closer to it. Right. So that is a very triggering thing for me. And at the time I was like, let him get his plate, and you and I were staring daggers at each other, because I thought you were allowing him to make you subservient, and you were standing there telling me, "Don't tell me what I can do for my husband." And I had to let it go because our relationship is more important than what triggered me. I mean, I was triggered by it, but I also recognize that now is not the time to get into that with you, right? And this was not the way to do it. So I let it go. And then later on, you actually pointed out to me that he brings you breakfast at your desk every day. So it's a quid pro quo. It wasn't you being subservient to him. It was something that you were doing for each other.
Yeah.
And that makes it very different. But by looking and saying, but for you to understand that I was doing the best I could because I was triggered by something.
And you were trying to protect me.
And I was trying to protect you. And in all those things, I think that's the key is, are you acting in the best interest of your friend? Here we go back to that. What is your intent? Are you trying to correct them because you want them to be like you? Or are you trying to help them be the best person they are? Or are you trying to protect their best interests? So when I say things, like if I say something to a friend, it's with their best interest in mind. It's with the mind that I'm not telling you how to behave. I'm not telling you what to think or what to do, but I want you to think about this because I want you to protect yourself.
Right.
I want you to grow.
That is what I mean by your friend honors your interior life.
Right.
Because your interior life are your core values.
Right.
Your religious belief. Your
well, and that's
innermost protected people, which are your husband, your mom, your kids, right? Your innermost circle and your physical body.
Right.
So that's your most inner circle. So your friend honors that by protecting it.
Right.
Making sure you're in alignment with your values.
Right.
Hey, that, I know you said you're really into, that. It seems like you're kind of falling away from your values.
Right. Well,
however you approach it.
And that was,
right?
and that was, at the, we'll just keep using this same thing that happened was, the reason I was like adamant about him fixing his own plate because I felt like you were being inauthentic to yourself by being subservient, because I've always seen you as a strong and powerful and independent woman, and so I was like, wait a minute, has she fallen into this relationship where she is allowing someone to
lord over me?
Right. Yeah. And so, it's not in it wasn't in a thing. It was like, hey, wait a minute, but at the same time, I hope that you see that when I do that, it's not only am I reacting because I'm triggered by something that happened to me, but I am also acting in the best interest of you. I want to make sure that you are safe or that you are not being lorded over, or, does that make sense? And so I think that's where that friendship goes back and forth. You have to understand, like you said, they have to honor your true core beliefs, which I thought that you were acting against your core beliefs at that time. But I was also acting in alignment with my core beliefs, which is to protect my family, and that I believe women are not subservient to their husbands. So, and like I say, once you explained to me that he makes food for you, then I was like, okay, I can do that. That's not that bad. It's not out of alignment.
Right.
So,
and then your friend who jumped in to defend,
yes,
may not have been privy to the countless other times that you had a blowout or conversation that led up to an escalated in public
Right.
enunciation of someone not doing what their expectations were.
Right.
So when they go in and go, wow, you're really attacking them, it's like, well,
I
you
think
may be missing part of the context there.
Right. Well, and I
so,
think you maybe if you think about it for a few minutes, you may know who I'm talking
no,
about.
because
Okay.
I don't keep up
Okay.
with your friends and your blowouts.
Okay. Well, I think
I mean, what I'm saying though is even if, Amber and Jason were having a little argument and Amber said something rude to Jason.
You don't know what led up to that. Right.
And I'm not going to be like jumping in front of Amber's daggers to take a bullet. Sorry, Jason, I love you, but I love Amber more.
But Amber is your friend, and she's the one you should
that's
back.
also, where I would say I'd probably be defending my friend in public. And then in private, I would say, hey, Amber,
Right.
I was looking at Jason while you were saying what you said, and I felt his heart shatter in my heart.
Right.
Because I'm an empath, and so I'd probably tell her that.
Right.
But I obviously am also
But you
not
wouldn't
gonna
tell
jump
Amber
out
you're
and,
being a bitch.
Yeah, y'all quit using me as an example because I would never even do that. To
Amber
Jason
would
in
never.
public or
Well, I know
probably
that's
You're
why
just an
I used
example
you because
you're a
that's why I
friend and
asked
you're
you because
married.
you're really close friends with Kristen.
Yeah.
And I know you would never act that way. But that you wouldn't tell her you're just being a why are you doing that?
No, what I would do is say, golly, Amber, someone's not going to get any. It would be a funny joke. And then
Yes.
you would go,
And it would lighten the
maybe.
situation, right.
Exactly.
But
and
see,
I think that's
yeah.
how friends know. Like, the closer your friend is, they know how to approach you.
Well, see, and I thought that
doesn't
too. But
diffuse that.
this one particular episode that I'm talking about, it was 3 people who are all equally friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was talking to the one, and the other one jumps in and goes, well, you're just being a, and I'm like, what?
I think that also you have to take into consideration that when you're in a group setting like that when someone is being mocked and
I
I'm not
wasn't
saying
even
they
being
were
mocked.
no, I'm not saying that they were, but if they are being pointed out of their faults in a group setting,
Yeah.
someone, maybe not that person,
But someone is going to take it differently.
will take it differently. And
True that.
the bigger the group is,
Right. The more likely that's
the
gonna
more
happen.
likely
Right.
you have outrage.
Well, and I guess that comes back to the, to me, are you accepting me for who I am? Because, okay, we know that I have ADHD. We know that I am a perfectionist. We know that I have a blabbermouth and I can't control it. And I also believe that I am autistic, so I lack certain ability to
filter.
and catch social cues, right? So I might say something innocently and, in those group situations. So my good friends, right, know who I am and know that I say things like that. And I'm actually reversing this because I have another friend who often says things that are inappropriate in the moment. But I know that that person does not have a filter and there's nothing harmful meant by it, right? And so I expect the same of my other friends who are really close to me like that. So, yes, it's okay to approach me after the fact, privately, but to call me out in the group when they know this is something that is just inherent to me, it's kind of like I said, you're asking the kettle to not be black, right? I'm already going to do that, and you're calling me out on it is just as bad behavior to me as what I did to that other person, right?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say earlier.
Yes, I did understand that. I did. And so that's where I go, we're friends, do you really accept me for who I am? And, apparently not if you're, doing that. So I don't know. It made me the incident made me question who I let into that inner group, because maybe that person is not meant to be privy to that part of
Right. So
Yeah.
here's when you go into the other situations, other people's homes, it's kind of like me saying, "Hey, Amber, no cussing at grandma's house." Amber, not really Amber, but hypothetical
because Amber
Amber,
doesn't cuss like a sailor. Either.
hypothetical Amber probably may have other people that ask her to do the same.
I do
Right.
cuss like
And
a sailor.
Well, you do,
every-
but
and-
not in
Not in
school.
front of
You know
grandma.
the
Right.
you know the
Not in front of
situations.
grandma.
Yeah, you're a school
And that's
teacher.
what I'm trying to say is that social intelligence,
Yes,
you act a certain way around certain people, and
yeah, absolutely,
you have
absolutely.
barriers and walls that you let
Right.
down. So Amber and I have a short wall.
Right.
It's
She
very
can step
thin
over
wall.
that wall. Yeah.
Right. And we can be wild and crazy together. But as soon as we start adding other people, you raise that wall a little bit. And the more people you add,
Right.
the more guarded you are.
Even
right?
with the people who are in your inner circle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't go
Yeah.
out acting crazy and saying things that you would say in private out in public.
Right.
Because it is not widely accepted.
Well, but again, here, what if you're a person who has no filter?
Well, then
Like
that
our other friend.
That person probably has that tendency to draw eyes wherever they go.
Exactly.
And so they're going to do their thing.
Yeah.
You cannot protect them from
Right.
misbehaving around other people.
You can only control your own self.
You can only control
your own
self.
behaviors, and you can only and you should only let in people whose behaviors you accept.
And you are
as
in
they
alignment
are.
with. Yeah.
Right.
If you can't be in alignment with someone's behaviors, then why are you letting them in to your innermost circle?
Right. Right.
Because then that is violating your own boundaries.
Right.
And that's disrespecting yourself more than your friend is.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I think so too. So, okay. So, I think we've kind of covered the, what are the boundaries of being a friend? Yeah.
That one small piece of what's a good friend. I'm sure there's some thousand other things that make friends great.
Well, I mean, we could,
we could probably make a whole nother podcast of 7 things that make friends great. Well, we got the core value down.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Well,
know your place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Know your place. Oh, wow. Be yourself. Make your boundaries. Stick to your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking at, I'm going to be a good friend, just honoring your friend's boundaries.
Right.
Respecting your friend.
And yeah, I agree. Okay. Well, I think that was really good. It kind of helped me see my issue in a different perspective. I was kind of leaning that way, but
yeah. Sometimes you just got to talk out
sometimes you got to
scenario.
talk out things, like I said, there was a specific scenario and it was just like, what the heck, So, okay. So what is next week, Amber?
Okay, so next week we're going to be talking about, it's my idea for the podcast was this book I bought called Nobody Wants Your Blank. Nobody Wants Your Blank, The Art of Decluttering Before You Die.
Okay, well, we'll put the actual name on the not on the podcast but on the heard it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Or we'll link to it anyway. So
it's a book inspired by Swedish death cleaning.
Okay.
So it's just in time for spring cleaning.
Yes.
And something I'm currently doing in my house right now.
Me too.
And it's like something that always weighs heavily on my mind, especially since I was gifted with storage units worth of stuff after my parents and grandma died. So that's what we're going to talk about next week.
All right.
Lots of packing and unpacking.
Yes. Yes.
Literally and
Yes.
figuratively.
Yes. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Go on over to our website at modernmusings.net. There you can get all the links to all the Heard It on the Podcast, our Facebook group MMC Chat, where you can join in the conversation. You can send us an email at info@modernmusings.net, and all that stuff. We're so glad you joined us this week. I hope you will like, subscribe, share the links, send it to your friends, and we will be back next week with Swedish death cleaning.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.